It's time for a bit of a versus video, bit of a comparison. In the left corner we have the originals, an Electrolux Contour Supreme 800 watts and a probably last generation Hoover Turbo Power 2 1200 watts. Over to the right we have the clones. Yes, we have the Dirt Devil Contour clone and the Dirt Devil Turbo Power 2 clone, both sporting 1100 watt motors. Our aim in this video is to look at the differences, be a little bit geeky, and maybe put them through some sort of test. Let's see what the differences are between original versus the company that's bought the designs and tweaked them. Yes, hello my vacuum cleaner chums, how are you today? I am surrounded by vacuum cleaners today. We have two of a kind on both fronts. We have an actual Hoover Turbo Power 2 and a pretend Hoover Turbo Power 2. Yes, obviously this is the Dirt Devil that you saw quite recently be unboxed, and this is an original Hoover Turbo Power 2. I even bought a red one down so they matched. We'll go through the similarities or not in more detail in a second, because I also have an Electrolux Contour and the Dirt Devil Electrolux Contour that obviously we saw on 12 vacuums in 12 months. I think we'll do these first. And I'll leave you at this high angle because we can talk about height. Now, I've never been a big fan of the Contour, purely because it's just a little bit too low for me to use. However, the reason that I might have got on slightly better with the Dirt Devil is because it is slightly taller. You can see there, look, and I haven't got a tape measure to hand. If I use this copy of Slimming World magazine, you can see that there is roughly about an inch extra height on the Dirt Devil itself, and also the way the casings go is a bit different. The Contour handle is angled backwards, whereas the Dirt Devil handle is angled forwards, although apart from that they do look very similar indeed. They feel the Dirt Devil is much lighter than the Contour. The Contour flexes less than the Dirt Devil. Let's have a look a bit further down. So moving down the ranks, the actual machines themselves are the same height. It's just that the handle is taller on the Dirt Devil. They both have the panel in the same place. Obviously you can get variable power Contours. I don't have one. This just has the on-off switch. Although this has the variable power, which I'm not going to touch because it is a bit dicky. Although the power switch is here on the Dirt Devil, so they've kept everything in roughly the same place. Bag door wise, they do fit differently, because obviously one's got a button, one hasn't, but again they are pretty much identical. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if, well, obviously they won't, well, they don't fit together. Oh, be a bit careful with the Contour. I just remembered it's a bit broken. You can't fit the bag door to each other because the two locating tabs are in ever so slightly different places, so can't quite do that, although they both had the bag door indicator in the same place. Although again, I've just noticed that the Contour one, there we go, is popping out slightly. Oh, wow, that's a full bag. Inside, the Contour bag input is elliptical, whereas in the Dirt Devil it is round. Gosh, I should have cleaned this up a little bit before this video. This is still in its pre-refurbished state. We might give it a back off in a minute with something before we get going too far, just to help it out a little bit. pop that back on there. So yes, they are similar, if not completely identical. Pop those back on there. They both have the grill in the bottom, although obviously the design is different. So yeah, they when I said that it was a clone, I might have been being a little bit economical with the truth, because they are the same physical size and shape, but yeah, they've obviously have tweaked the tooling a little bit. Let's have a look at the bottom. They are the same depth. I think they are the same width of head as well. Yes, they are. It's about all we can say really. The wheels look the same. They have different methods of height adjustment on them. But there we go. And if we flatten them down so we can look at their undercarriages. Everyone's being a bit easier because it's never the greatest. They even look quite similar underneath. You couldn't swap the base plates around because the Dirt Devil one screws on, the Contour doesn't. But you might be able to... No, you can't. Yeah, there is very little that you can copy over. You can swap the wheels over. They use the same bracketry for the wheels. I'll be surprised if you couldn't swap the head over. Yeah, it is very different actually when you look at it up close, although the base plate still has the big screws in the corner. Yes, they do. You can see the family resemblance. In fact, while we're down at this angle, I may as well just slide it forward a little bit because you can see the back. And obviously the tools are different. I don't have the tools for this, but this uses very much the Panasonic style of tool fitment with the same style dusting brush. The Electrolux doesn't. It has its ones there, whereas on the Dirt Devil they are there. It has its unused crevice tool here, which the Dirt Devil does, but obviously the dusting brush and upholstery tool sits up here on the Contour. And obviously, yeah, the hoses are very different as well because the Contour comes in down here and the bag fill tube goes up. On the Dirt Devil, that is the bag fill tube, really. Let's see what they sound like. Now, I'm filming this in August, so we have the joys of the Amazon Basics compact bagless to just because obviously before we do this is not going to be terribly fair because that's been fully refurbished. This is basically as I bought it, so I'm just going to get the filters a quick vacuum off. Hang on, my mum's turned the extension lead off. Don't worry, it's catching fire, do we? There we go. The suction's still good. There we go, that's going to be a little bit fairer to the Contour, isn't it? Let's be honest. We also do have to now faff around with swapping brush rolls around because this has a very warm brush roll, this doesn't have one at all. So, oh. Well, what do you know? This I haven't looked at this properly yet. The top cord hook on the Contour is also a bit broken. Well, I hadn't noticed that. That's the same as the Dirt Devil then, that's a pain. Right, let's get them turned on and we'll see what the noise difference is. Both plugged in and both set to high. We'll do the Electrolux first. Not too bad, quite low pitched. Let's do the Dirt Devil, which is in high. That almost smells a little bit carbony. I didn't do that before. Not, you know, they are different. Obviously this has an 1100 watt, probably Chinese motor in it. This has an 800 watt motor, which I imagine at this stage is still British. It's probably just a slightly tweaked version of the motor used in the twin turbo, I'd imagine. It wouldn't surprise me with the Electrolux. The Glider had a twin turbo motor. So they either did something special for the Contour and Up or used the same motor really. Right, let's move on to the Hoover corner, because this gets a little bit more interesting. They are both the same height. Both have identical looking handles. And in fact, apart from the Dirt Devil having a more rounded top edge, which you can't see actually if you come here, the cable is the same height. If we go down a little bit, the Dirt Devil has a more rounded appearance and the switch is on the top, whereas the Turbo Power 2 is squared off and the switch is on the front. They use the same bag housing mechanism, and the housings also do look similar, but again, no, wait, ooh, it fits at the bottom. You can swap the bag doors around, I think. Oh no, right, this latch here is wider on the Turbo Power than it is on the Dirt Devil. So the Dirt Devil bag door fits, I don't know if it's sealed itself on, I'll be honest, but it fits, whereas this doesn't fit the Dirt Devil because it's got a slightly wider clip. So that's mildly amusing, I suppose. Oh. While we are here, the screws are in roughly the same place. There's a cutout for the latch in the same place. Now I know that this takes H4 bags because it's got the same style of bag fitting and it's even got the same clip. So here is a Hoover H18, sorry not H4, H18 bag, and here is an original, it came out of the box, Dirt Devil bag, and they will fit each other as well. We're not going to go into that. Filtration wise, well, we have a single filter for the Turbo Power, and I don't think I've refurbished this, it's very clean. A double filter for the Turbo Power, although that filter is identical on that front. They even seem to go together the same way. Just put the Turbo Power filter roughly back in. But the filters won't fit each other because the cutouts in the moulding is different. Now whereas on the Turbo Power you can pop the clips and take the fascia off, here it seems to be held in with a screw, so we can't be doing that. Let's just fit the bag in exactly the same way. We'll pop their correct bag doors on. Obviously the Turbo Power doesn't have a bag indicator on the door. This one hasn't got one at all because it's a base spec one. Whereas this has the piston on the handle on the bag door. In fact, it doesn't fit itself better. The build quality is better on the Hoover. There's a big gap there, whereas there isn't on the Hoover. While we're at this lovely angle, this is the back of a Hoover Turbo Power 2, as you well know, with missing its scabbard tool, but it's got all three tools. This is the back of the Dirt Devil, which again has the same top cord hook, the same bottom cord hook. It has the Hoover style. I mean, you could not really tell the difference. One's the Dirt Devil one's black and has an arrow rather than the Hoover roundel, but they are identical. Look at that. utterly the same. Obviously the Dirt Devil scab bar tool fits just as badly onto the turbo power pipe as it fits onto the Dirt Devil pipe. Actually they're a little bit taller, although I think that's just because that gap's not fully closing up. There is a bit of moulding there on the turbo power, there isn't on here. So it does fit. Let's just pop that back. Upholstery tool wise, you couldn't tell the difference if I just showed you them really. This one's the Hoover one. This one's the Dirt Devil one. Again, utterly identical, and I'm going to be a bit careful to put the right one back on the right machine. Dusting brush wise, well this is a little bit of a difference. Ignore this one's a little bit battered, but if it was new it would have nice soft bristles. That doesn't, so there is a big difference. But again, apart from that, they are one or the same. They've even got the crevice nozzle bit in there. Hose wise, well, let's just have that off. This takes its, in fact I've probably got the wrong turbo power 2 out, because obviously this takes its cue from the earlier one, whereas this is more from the pure power era. But obviously we've seen turbo power 2s with that hose end on, so that's not too bad. The hose, the machine ends, a different design but the same fitment. In fact I've got, this is the Dirt Devil one. I imagine, oh it's a bit loose, but it fits. And the Turbo Power 2 one fits onto the Dirt Devil as if it was made to go on there. So that's a little bit tighter in there than it should be. So they obviously used the earlier hose when they drew this up. And then Hoover obviously changed the hose, because this one's slightly thicker than the early ones anyway, because this is quite a late machine. This is 1996. I think it was about that time when Hoover stopped really caring about innovation, because the pure power would have come out in 96, 97, so that would be the last time Turbo Power 2 was feckled. But yeah, pretty much identical on the back. I think I could even swap the handles round, but I'm not going to bother. Let's have a look underneath, which is where all the similarities end. Every single one. The wheels on the Dirt Devil are there. They're there on the Turbo Power 2. Base plate is trying. This is where the cover is on the Turbo Power. Its brush roll's a little bit worn. This one's not, but obviously that's an activator. This is not. It's got 2 wheels at the front, whereas the Turbo Power hasn't, and the Dirt Devil hasn't got height adjustment, whereas that has. Oh yes, and in fact, they have got rid of the moulding for the optional stair hose for when these were the Turbo Power 3 or 1000. I think they just didn't retool, because that's where on my Turbo Power 3 the hook for the hose goes. Yeah, fairly interesting stuff. But which one works better? Before we get into all that, we'd best turn them on, hadn't we? One after the other. So we'll start with the Hoover. Which is in its pre-refurbished state, so there is something rubbing. I think one of the bearings has gone on the brush roll, etc. The brand new Dirt Devil. Doesn't sound too dissimilar. It's a slightly higher pitch, but actually sounds very, very similar to the Hoover. Right, on to that comparison test that I just mentioned. Now I don't have lots of dirt, as you know, but what I do have is a box of breakfast cereal that we forgot we had. I didn't put a clip on it, and it's not too bad, but Amy didn't know it was there, and I nicked it. And now I'm just trying to ram it into the carpet quite well. I'll leave some of it like whole. There we go. So we can see which one performs better. And to try and waylay any cries of trickery, I'm going to leave the camera running whilst I move it. Pop you there, and we shall start with the Hoover. We'll start with the original. It is in its low carpet setting, because the Dirt Devil probably will be as well. And we'll just do the time-honoured tradition of going forwards and backwards for no scientific merit and see what happens. Not bad. Let's try the Dirt Devil, which is in high power, which is still 100 watts less than the turbo power, but I don't think that's going to make much of a difference. Now that is interesting. I need to tip you just a little bit further so you can see the full result. The turbo power side, it's snowploughed more. So just looking behind me, I'm just going to recline them both. I think actually I should have had the turbo power on a different setting. No, actually. No, they are both touching the floor in the same way, although the Dirt Devil behind me is spewing Rice Krispies out onto the floor, whereas Turbo Power 2 isn't. But it's snowploughed more, but it has got the carpet up better. It hasn't got them all up. This mainly came back down when I pulled back. Well, I can see a fair bit. However, the Dirt Devil hasn't really snowploughed at all, but hasn't got anywhere near as much out. You can see that on camera. I can see it's covered in dust. So I think the winner's got to be the Hoover, purely because it has lifted the carpet more, even with its slightly more worn brush roll and probably knackered belt. Although it did snowplough, whereas the Dirt Devil did pick more up off the surface, but doesn't seem to have gone quite as deep. But because we have had a Turbo Power 2 on my channel recently, and this is actually the first thing I picked up with the Dirt Devil, we're going to clean the rest up with the Dirt Devil because I'm in charge. There we go, Hoover, well, original one, clone nil. I've got you in handheld mode for a second as well, so I've just thought of another test we can do. If we put these exactly side by side, the cable comes out in the same place, and I have both plugs here, and we are going to walk and see which cable goes tight first. Oh, wow. The Hoover wins by a margin. Quite a big margin. Crikey. There we go. So the Hoover has the longer cable as well. Right. Onto these now, and these are going to be a tad more involved. Now the main problem that we're going to have next is that these two vacuums don't have a decent brush roll between them. We started with the original last time, so we're going to start with the Dirt Devil this time. This is the brush roll that is for this very machine anyway. Because if you remember, brush roll in this machine is knackered and really won't be any good at all. The Dirt Devil hasn't got a brush roll fitted anyway, because I gave that to Hoover to put on a machine he was refurbishing for somebody else before I knew the existence of the Turbo Power 2 clone, and decided to keep the other Dirt Devil purely for this purpose. So we're going to have to do a little bit of jiggery pokery. Wow, that is some clag right there. Gosh, this has picked up lots of stuff. Let's just get that vacuumed off. At least give it half a chance, eh? Oh no, wait, there's some more. Got to give it as good a chance as we can, because we can't be scientific with this, because the difference in motor wattages is quite startling. So the poor little Electrolux is already at a disadvantage, so we'll help it now by fitting its brand new brush roll. Look at the difference in bristle length there. You can see the difference. So that needed to be done anyway. What end caps do I need? I need the ones with the little hat on. The other ones are for the 600 series, which uses the same brush roll. This is, you know, this is the same brush roll, just different end caps. Now the belt is perfectly fine. I'm not worried about that. There we go. We'll fit that. We'll just rotate that a little bit. Check it's happy. We'll pop the base plate back on, do the screw up, here we go, there we go, click, etc. So this will help it. Regardless. We've got to do this again to the red Dirt Devil because it hasn't got a brush roll fitted at all. I'm actually hoping to God that this brush roll will fit, because I think the end caps are the same. Don't have the end caps for it. If it doesn't, then the Electrolux has declared the winner regardless. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I have filmed too much to stop now. So, back out with the cereal. So, more crunchy goodness. With the carpet, it's, what do they say it gives it? Vitamins, minerals, and a healthy coat probably. Yes, the carpet is now getting 50% of the vitamin D it needs today. So that's nice, isn't it? There we go, we'll just swoosh the rest of it about on the top and push the Electrolux down one side. The Electrolux is set to the lowest carpet setting, not hard floor, because hard floor brings the wheels up inside the machine in a very stupid way, which makes it really terrible for hard floors. The Dirt Devil won't do that, so I'm going to stick to carpets. Not bad. However, before we faff around with the comparison, I just need to swap the brush roll into the Dirt Devil to do the other side. Be right back. Seems that occasionally I can have moments of being very, very sensible, because it seems that I did keep the end caps of this machine. Oh yeah, that screw's broke, isn't it? So I obviously did imagine that I was going to be doing something like this. No, that's right. Doreen asked me for the brush roll. I said, yeah, no problem, I'm going to bin this. Then I found out about the other Dirt Devil's existence, but still gave Doreen the brush roll anyway because I said, in fact, no, they are the same. Oh, they're not. Look, that was lucky. That's the difference. So we take the end caps off of here with the rubber grommets because I've got those. Put those out of the way. Oh, the bearings are the same size. This could be good, people. It hasn't got to be perfect. As long as it works for 5 minutes, I don't care. So we'll put the Dirt Devil end caps in. Oh, look at that! Look, they've even used the same brush roll. Wonder if the Hoover brush roll will fit the other Dirt Devil. We're not doing that today. We might have a play about in another video if you want, because I'm going to keep the other Dirt Devil for a while. This I already know where it's going. It's going to its new home. I'm sure we'll tell you all about it when he gets it. So, here we go, diddly diddly do. These screws are a lot smaller and fiddlier than the Electrolux ones. And again, in the interest of complete transparency as far as I can, because I'm not the European Union, we still have it as we left it, and I've been walking on this bit to avoid jarring the results. Because you can test anything as long as you can replicate it. We can make up our own EU vacuum test rules. As long as we tested them consistently every single time, they'd be fine. I test at work. As long as I can reproduce the test myself, it's classed as okay. Right. Thinking worse, let's just check it. Oh, I've not put the wheels back in right, hang on. We're back. The base plates fit on differently, and I fitted the base plate to this as if it was the Electrolux. Where were we? That is interesting indeed. Let's just do the keep the shot but tip me down. Now I went slightly further forward with the Dirt Devil, but one cannot deny that the Dirt Devil has snowplowed more than the Electrolux. What one cannot, probably even on this screen, fail to notice is that the Dirt Devil has gone deeper into the carpet than the Electrolux, which has left an astonishing amount of dirt. Now some of that may be down to the motor difference. Obviously we have 300 watts difference between the two machines, but having had the Dirt Devil apart, I do know that the air path on this is more convoluted than the Electrolux, so that is surprising and actually makes it 1-1, which produces us with a little bit of a problem really, because obviously we can't declare a victor. I know I'm going to keep using the Dirt Devil just to vacuum all this up as we did with the other winner, because why the devil not? Let me just raise my camera up a little bit so you can see everything. So we'll keep using the Dirt Devil. Then we've got to think of a way to round off the video. I know, it is currently 1:30 on the 2nd of August. I am on Instagram. watching Roger's Electronic G. Either way, new post. A lot of you follow me on Instagram, so you should know. You would have seen that picture if you follow me. We'd close that. Go away, Amy. I take a photo. Try to do this live so you can see it. Take a picture. Back to Instagram, and I'll see if anybody can comment with what we do next whilst I clean up this with the Dirt Devil. So next, you have 3 minutes, which should I use? Dirt Devil Contour Clone or Hoover Turbo Power 2? Go. Okay, so perfectly fair. Follow me on Instagram, The Real Becco 1987, because there seems to be a boxer in America called Becco 1987. Share. Done. Right. We are going to clean up the rest of this mess, as per the first video, with the Victor. This is a 1-1 battle, which is why I now cannot decide which machine to finish the video off with. Because if we had a clear winner, we could do it, but we can't because it is 1-1. So let's clear this up first before we make too much of a mess. Quite annoying, that hasn't done a very good job. It has scattered it everywhere. It just keeps flicking it. So I'm going to give Instagram a few more minutes, get the tools out and properly get all this up, and then we'll make the rest of it up as we go along. Right, so tools have been out and everything has been done. It is now 1:34. Let us boot back up Instagram and I'll just refresh the feed. Some washing machine. Here we go. Ooh, we had 2 comments. Ooh, 1 each. Pneumatic vacuum 10 and tab. And I'll be honest, after using that, we're going to go with the Turbo Power 2. Unless anybody else comes back in the next few seconds. Let's just refresh again. Can we get a best of 3? Otherwise I'm going to be in Turbo Power 2. Oh no, I think that's it. No one's posting anymore. No one's posting anymore. Still 34. Ooh, Turbo Power 2 it is then. Yes, all of the muck, plus the contents of the contour bag, which was surprisingly full. I didn't really want to up at the loft. Are now all over the floor. And the winner, the proper Turbo Power 2, needs to clean all up pretty quickly before I'm late for work. I'm just going to put the height adjuster up a little bit to get the chunky stuff up. Thank God it didn't clog up. It's already done better than the Dyson DC-11. So what does this prove then? Don't know really, but it was fun, wasn't it? No, what's it? It doesn't really prove anything, obviously. Although it does answer a myth. An opinion that has gone around the vacuum cleaner collection circles ever since I was a nipper. Hoover do the uprights, Electrolux do the cylinders. Electrolux cylinders always have been really, especially in the 70s and 80s, better than Hoover cylinders. But Hoover uprights always ruled the roost. And this just pipped it to the post, mainly based on just general carpet revival and sucking all the dirt up. The actual Electrolux itself, the proper one, skinned over the top, picked all the bits up, but didn't clean deep down, didn't snowplow as much so. The clones, well, I'm very impressed with the clones. It has to be said, the clones have done alright. They seem to have taken the best from their parent machines. In fact, that's the wrong way round, isn't it? They've taken the best from their parent machines. The build quality is slightly better on the Hoover one, not so much this one, but they're lighter to use. If this had a better brush roll, it probably would be as good, but it doesn't. It just skims over. You just can't beat a Hoover activator. But I had to do this video because this is going elsewhere, which leaves these three in my collection for now. I might get rid of the Contour. Don't know who wants it though, with the broken cord hook. So yeah, this sort of had to be filmed at some point just so I could do it whilst I had two Dirt Devil clones. So this is what happens when copyright and patents run out or sold. I'm not actually sure what happened with them. I'd imagine they've acquired. Dirt Devil were owned by several big people in the 90s. So I imagine words were had and money was handed over. And we have these, which are the natural born siblings of these. So, oh yeah, the Amazon Basics gets a gold star for attendance. Oh, my mother was getting a phone call. Not for us though. But, don't worry, I shall use this opportunity to say, hang on, let me just... Only withheld numbers. Don't answer withheld numbers. My parents don't. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you very soon. Bye bye.